Across civilizations separated by oceans, languages, and millennia, a strange pattern keeps appearing. A god demands blood. A father raises a knife over his son. A priest lifts a blade above a trembling animal. A king orders hearts torn from living bodies beneath the gaze of the sun. And the message, whispered through temples and scriptures, is always the same: sacrifice is sacred. But here's the unsettling question that rarely gets asked. If God is all-powerful, why would any god require blood at all? For centuries, believers have been told these rituals prove devotion, acts of faith, tests of loyalty. But when you trace the origins of sacrificial theology across the world, from the Hebrew Bible to the Vedic, fire altars of ancient India, from Greek temples to the towering pyramids of the Aztecs, the pattern begins to look less like divine instruction and more like something deeply human. Because long before organized religions codified their scriptures, sacrifice was already woven into the psychology of survival. In ancient Mesopotamia, the earliest written myths describe humanity as servants created to feed the gods. In the Atrahasis epic, the gods complain of hunger and exhaustion, and humans are formed to provide offerings: grain, animals, and smoke rising from burning flesh. The ritual wasn't symbolic, it was transactional. Feed the gods, and they spare the world. A similar logic appears across the ancient Near East. In the Hebrew scriptures, sacrifice becomes the central technology of forgiveness. In the book of Leviticus, entire chapters describe in meticulous detail how animals must be slaughtered, their blood sprinkled, their fat burned on the altar. The smoke, the text says, becomes a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But pause for a moment and consider the language. A pleasing aroma, not metaphor, not poetry, a sensory description. To modern readers, it feels symbolic. Yet in the ancient world, the smoke of sacrifice was believed to literally reach the divine realm. The gods smelled it, consumed it, accepted it, and this belief wasn't unique to Israel. Across the Mediterranean, Greek temples echoed with the same ritual logic. Bulls were slaughtered before statues of Zeus, sheep burned for Apollo, their blood soaked into stone altars, while priests interpreted the gods' will through the shape of smoke and entrails. The Roman historian Plutarch once described sacrificial altars running so thick with blood that rivers formed beneath them. Yet something curious happens when we compare these traditions. Despite vast differences in theology, the same basic formula repeats everywhere. Humans sin or fear disaster. A living creature dies. The god is appeased, but why? Ancient Hindu traditions offer one of the oldest surviving explanations. In early Vedic religion, sacrifice wasn't merely devotion. It was believed to sustain the universe itself. The ritual fire mirrored the cosmic order. Offerings fed the gods, and in return, the gods sustained reality. Without sacrifice, the cycle of existence would collapse. But that raises a darker possibility. What if sacrifice wasn't originally about forgiveness, but about control? Because rituals do something powerful to the human mind. They turn fear into structure. When drought strikes, when disease spreads, when storms destroy harvests, a sacrifice offers something psychologically irresistible: the illusion of influence over chaos. Kill the animal, burn the offering, and perhaps the gods will listen. And here's where theology begins to shift in unsettling ways. In many ancient cultures, animals were not always enough. Human sacrifice appears again and again at the edges of religious history. The Phoenicians burned children in honor of Baal. The Aztecs offered human hearts to sustain the sun. Even within the Hebrew Bible, echoes of this darker tradition surface. In the story of Abraham and Isaac, a father prepares to sacrifice his own son to God. At the final moment, an angel intervenes. A ram replaces the child. The story is usually taught as a triumph of faith, proof that God ultimately rejects human sacrifice. But look closer. The moral tension remains unresolved. Abraham was fully prepared to kill his son because he believed God demanded it. And the text never condemns that willingness. Instead, it praises it, which leaves a haunting question lingering beneath the story. Was the test about morality or obedience? As centuries passed, many religions began softening sacrificial theology. Philosophers grew uneasy with blood rituals. Prophets within the Hebrew tradition started challenging the system. One famous passage declares, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice." Yet the idea never truly disappeared. Instead, it transformed. In Christianity, the entire system of animal sacrifice collapses into a single cosmic event. Jesus becomes the final offering, the Lamb of God, whose death replaces the temple altar forever. But the logic remains the same. Sin requires blood. The sacrifice simply changes scale. And when we widen the lens beyond religion, an even stranger pattern appears. Modern society still performs symbolic sacrifices, just in different forms. Soldiers die for nations. Workers sacrifice time and health for economic systems. Martyrs die for ideologies. The language of sacrifice never vanished. It evolved, which raises a final, unsettling possibility. What if sacrifice persists not because gods demand it, but because human societies do? Because sacrifice solves a psychological dilemma at the heart of civilization. When something must be lost, wealth, safety, life itself, ritual transforms tragedy into meaning. A death becomes sacred, a loss becomes purposeful, and the system survives. Perhaps that's why sacrificial stories appear in every corner of human history, not as evidence of divine hunger, but as reflections of human fear, power structures, and the desperate need to believe that suffering serves a higher design. But that leaves one final question hanging in the dark. When ancient scriptures describe gods who demand blood, are they revealing the nature of the divine, or the nature of the people who wrote the story?